In the fast-paced world of business, finding a clear path to profitability can be a challenge. Welcome to 0 to 100 with your host, Jared Guy Randolph, seasoned business and finance expert. Tune in for actionable insights and strategies to accelerate your business success.
Hello, Accelerators, and welcome back to 0 to 100. Today, I am very proud to introduce Jim Padilla, who is the Global Impact Strategist for Gain the Edge. They are a leading sales system that has created over $250 million in sales for the clients that they have worked with. We're going to cover some really crucial topics that are going to help you grow your business. We're going to talk about everything from creating predictable, scalable revenue to providing services to your customers beyond what your current offering is. And most importantly, defining who your actual customer is so you're marketing to the right target and you're growing your business exponentially. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jared Guy Randolph. I am the founder of BoxFi. We are a business growth solution through payment processing, and I am very excited to share the network I've built over my 25-year entrepreneurial journey to help you grow your business and become way more profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, let's accelerate together. Jim Padilla, welcome to 0 to 100. So good to have you today.
So glad to be here, man. Love the title.
So you are going to take our audience from 0 to 100, or maybe some of them are at 10, maybe some of them are at 60, but we're going to get them to 100. And we're going to talk about the things that you need to be doing within your business to accelerate revenue, create more profitability. And there's one question after the conversation we had I really want to start with, which what are the key things that we have complete control over in our business right now, today, that we can do to increase profitability?
There's obviously a lot. The main things are that you get to adjust the revenue. And I guess the actual thing to dive into before you even get into the specifics is remembering that you actually do hold the control. You get to determine profitability. Profitability is not something that happens to you. It's something that you create. And, it's being crystal clear that revenue is not profit. It's understanding that you have to make sure that you are actually delivering with profitability in mind. Meaning, we have a client. I have a client we were working with that she was selling a $2,500 program that after we broke it down was costing her $2,700 and change to fulfill on.
Wow.
Well, it doesn't take much more than a first grade math to recognize that the more of them you sell, the less money you have. Right. But
right.
She's really wicked smart. She's a doctor, a PhD. She's a brilliantly smart person. It's just we get caught up pricing what we think pricing is supposed to be instead of actually putting together the numbers that make sense to give you the opportunity to fulfill greatly at what you do and have money put aside to pay your taxes, to invest in growth, to invest in development of this particular program, and money set aside to continue to grow your business, right? A lot of times people say, well, you want to be profitable down the road. Like you lose money on this one and make money on that one. I think you should be profitable at every step.
So you said that you hold the control, and let's be frank. It seems like there are so many macroeconomic issues that we as business owners that we have zero control over. So can you give me some specifics that if somebody's looking at the framework of their business, and I know it's going to be different for each business, but are there general things that we should be looking at that we can control or take back control of?
Sure. So obviously pricing is one.
Mm-hmm.
Expenses matter. You have to pay attention to them, but you can only control them to so much degree. I would say if you're going to focus on what you're spending, then make sure that your team is involved in that and even your clients, right? Because if you can paint a vision of where we're going and so that you might be worried about this particular season, so that in this season, you're going to adjust prices up or down, which could affect, if you adjust prices, it can affect your customers. If you adjust salaries, you'd be amazed if you go to your company and say, hey, look, everybody, we're asking everybody to take a 10% shave so that I don't have to fire one person. and watch your team rally and close ranks, right? Everything's doable. You just have to have a clear message, a clear positioning based around what it is that you're trying to sell.
I actually think that's incredibly creative, and it creates that sense of community within your team. And it's important, especially when things, or you have a business that might be struggling and you're just trying to get to that next season, as you said. So that's incredibly important. And in terms of pricing, I will share a story that I've experienced with some of the merchants that we work with on the payment processing side, where they say, well, I haven't increased my prices in 5 years or 7 years. And I says, well, have your cost gone up? Have your margins continued to shrink? There is a thing called inflation. And if you're not looking to increase your pricing 3-4% on an annual basis, you're not going to have a business in the next 3 to 5 years, because there'll be no profitability. So it's not just increasing prices to increase prices, it's increasing prices so you're basically able to continue to run your business and provide a high level of service and product to your customer. So if you're looking at it from that framework, is there a structure that we should be considering as business owners when it comes to pricing our product or service?
Well, the first piece is that you need to make sure that there's enough to actually deliver upfront. There should be enough in this for you to test and tweak things as well, because you are going to be growing your product and your service offerings for the clients that come in the door, right? Because the other part that you want to think about is having a lifetime journey already pre-planned, so that you understand that whatever it costs you to get a client on the front end, the more of them you keep over time, the less that cost comes, that hits you on the front. So your client acquisition cost can go down over time if you are intentional about it. So you want to have that in place. Always know what are the next problems that they're going to have as a result of you solving their problem, or what are the other things that they will need to be able to get a result faster or easier. Because some people can just take the core product and get the outcome. Other people will want assistance. They might want some hand-holding, some guidance. Great. That doesn't mean it should be free. This is called business. There's no guilt or no shame. If you want to give it free, great. Just make sure you're doing it profitably in other areas. But if somebody wants to go faster because they need accountability, well, you don't give everybody accountability and just eat it as a cost. You sell people the accountability who need it. You sell people speed and process if they need it.
I love the idea of solving one problem at a time as a business owner for your customer. It also creates a journey that you go through with that particular customer. And I've read a lot about this in what Dan Kennedy teaches, and it's the idea of we graduate from course to course in college, or we go from 3rd grade to 12th grade in grade school. And it's always about that gradual appreciation. So you have a longer term client. So you talk about something which is really great, which is your CAC plus your CLV equals fuel. Can you walk us through how that equation works in any business so we can have longer term clients?
Definitely. Your CAC, for those who are not aware, is client acquisition cost. Everything costs you something. You just might not be aware of it because you might not be paying attention to it. First thing, please make sure you know what that is. And here's a hint. If it's about or near or almost, it's not a number. It should be $27.35 or $1,000.16. There should be a number. And if it's not, then you need to find it out. Okay. You're forgiven. This one going forward, you're not. Okay. Know the CAC, and then understand, once you've acquired that client, what is the value of that particular customer or client to your business over the lifetime of your business. And that is, it's going to be somewhat of an approximation if you haven't already done it. But for some companies, it can be $800. If you're selling something high end, it could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. The number is just the number. The only thing that's important is that you know what your number is, so that you know, and here's how you start determining that. What are all of the problems that you can solve along the way? Are these problems that you have a solution for and want to sell them? Just because you can solve it doesn't mean you want to solve it. The key is that you get it solved. And I have plenty of partners who come in who smooth out operational processes. We know how to do it. We can do it. I don't want to do it. So we bring in partners who do that, and they're already built into the journey of our lifetime client. They're typically not going to see them on day one. They're going to see them 6 months down the road or 12 months down the road, depending on where they are in the journey, right? So that's the whole key. If you're the expert of the problem, that means you should know everything about the avatar, everything about the problem, and everything about the solution, or you're not the expert of it.
So I hear a lot about CAC and the customer lifetime value. What do you do if your business or your product is indicative of a short lifetime value of the customer to continue to gain new customers every season, every year, every few years?
Well, the reality is every single problem, there's no such thing as a problem that does not come with an inherent, once you solve it, does not come with a new problem at a higher level. Every single problem opens the door to a new problem at a higher level. The choice you have to make is, do you want to solve it? Because if not you, then somebody else is going to be solving it for them. And I would prefer that you hand them off to that person or just solve it yourself, because there's a really good chance you already know how. When people to come, when I was in mortgage years ago, up until 2008, when I took a bath, and I was bringing people. We brought a lot of people to the Sacramento area from the Bay Area. Right. And so what I did was I had an entire network of businesses and solutions for any new family. I said, you only need to know one cell phone number, and that's mine. You dial 916-806-9118, and I will point you to the best transmission shop, the best daycare, the best little league. I'll show you where the best barbecue place is, the best haircut, anything you need. I'm the only person you ever need to call. Now, was that more work on my part? Of course it was. But you know what people called when they needed something? They called me, because I put it in front of them. And that should be every business owner's goal. Have them call you, and then you could be the switchboard if you want and connect them to all kinds of people. But if you're not a valued asset that is irreplaceable, then you're a commodity. And you got to make a choice in this business, or in the economy that we live in today.
So that's actually quite interesting, creating the extensions in your business. And you had stated that as business owners, we solve one problem or two or three or five problems, or we solve one or two problems. And then the next problems that come up, we might not necessarily have the capability or the desire to solve them, but we have people within our network that we can pass them through. That's how you gain credibility. It's how you become and stay relevant in that customer's life over the long term. And it's also how you get referables. So in essence, you're never leaving your customer alone. You're along with them throughout the journey. And that, to me, Jim, is brilliance.
And that's at any level, any business. And I can already hear, because I talk to people about this all the time. Yeah, but Jim, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to do my one thing. That's great. But I promise you, if you give 5 minutes of thought to anything that they have to experience later, you want to be able to be the person they can come back to get some reaffirmation, some guidance. And if you're only going to do the one thing, then you will be 100% of your job will change from the solution provider to massive lead generator. And that will be, you will spend your entire career trying to find new leads.
Interesting. So your ecosystem as a business owner, well, can I throw out an example? What if you're a restaurant and you're, the top Italian restaurant in your neighborhood? Are you only really solving one problem in terms of providing food for a hungry patron? Or is there a way to create an ecosystem outside of that?
Yeah, everything is just limited to your own creativity. If I was consulting in Il Fornaio, a top flight, Italian restaurant here in Sacramento area, I would say, do you just want to serve Italian food, or do you want to create an exciting environment and atmosphere that people can be transported to Italy when they're in your world? And one of the ways you do that is by having them come to your restaurant. Other ways you do that is by having a great affiliate relationships with catering halls. Other ways that you can do that is by partnering with local community, when they're going to do an event that they're going to be a taste of the town and they want to give a flavor of Italy, you should be the first person or the only person on the list that they would call, because you create the taste of Italy. Versus, do you just want to provide Italian food? Right? So it's all about how you position it and how you message it is what's going to determine everything. I would want you to be the ambassador of the Italian ambassador to the city. And you put out marketing and content and media that talks about the taste of Italy, no matter where you are in the world, or what it would be like, or that, nobody makes it like Mama used to make it, or, just let everybody know what is it like to live in Italian flavor in whatever city that they're in, or particularly in your city. Right? The whole choice is yours. Or you could say, hey, we sell the best spaghetti.
I really thought I was going to have you on the restaurants, but you actually just slam dunked that. And I'll tell you why, because you got my creative brain going. And aside from catering the events, being the ambassador to Italy for that particular city, and you had mentioned working along with community events, etc., you can do things like do raffles, and once a month, a business wins a catered lunch by your restaurant. You could do one single annual family trip to Italy that is paid for by one of your patrons who does a raffle on an annual basis, and you do an event every single year that is based around Italy, and somebody wins that free trip to Italy and you get pictures from it. You can market it and advertise it. That is absolutely going to set you apart from everybody else in the marketplace. And I really thought I had you on restaurants, but that was a really great response. Now I see why you are, on the edge, my friend. You know what you're doing.
Well, just to add a little one plus to what you just had, you can certainly do a giveaway trip to Hawaii, to Italy, and that would be amazing. What else would be amazing is have your preferred patrons pay for an exclusive wine tasting event to the south of Italy. And I'm just making this up because I've never been to Italy, but they could pay for it. They could pay for a 5-star exclusive resort that includes anything from, wine tasting to mountain climbing to whatever it is that you want to do with your patrons. So now you get to live a dream life and your patrons get to pay for it.
That's what's so cool about that with branding. I mean, and then as the business owner, you're getting your vacation in there, but you also take a camera crew with you, or at least somebody with a camera who can document it with some film and some video. And then you've got marketing content around that. And it's so unique. And then you really create much deeper relationships with your customer. And then they truly are along on the journey with you over a much more extended period than you would if you were just going to a restaurant to have Italian food. And it's opened my mind up, because even in my business, one of the things that I've realized, and it's actually one of the reasons why 0 to 100 came about, is a lot of the merchants that we work with, we build great relationships with us. And then they'll ask us for advice on somebody to help them with business development, somebody who is a tax expert who can help them, an accountant, somebody who can help them set up a new LLC, a real estate advisor. All these different services were asked for, and they do call us for, and we want to help them. And that's why we're getting the message out with a lot of the groups and people that we already have relationships and work with. That's been one of the biggest value adds and business builders for me, because the referrals that come out of it have been massive. And then people look at you, especially when you're continually putting out content, as the expert in business, finance, real estate, whatever it may be. Those are really key things to set yourself apart. Let's say you are a business and you want to create that unique selling mechanism for your services or what you do. How do you define your core values around that, so you're actually consistent and it's replicatable?
Well, let me back up for a second. We very much focus on core values as a set. We like to attract our clients, customer base, by people who believe in what we believe in, because then we start creating tribe. You start creating a movement, and then the more of that you can create, the less of a commodity you are, and then you're not comparable apples to other people. The other thing to be really mindful of is that you are creating culture. Culture will always overrule even the systems, right? Culture is everything. When your culture can be, we do the best for our people at all times. Your culture can be, we go the extra mile. We will drive it to your house if you need it. Your culture is set, and that's what people want more than anything. If somebody wants a transaction, they're typically just going to go either for the cheapest or for the most expensive, depending on their personal desires. Other than that, they buy from people that they really align with. They buy from brands that make them feel good, right? And so your job is to consistently message what you stand for, what you believe in, and share your core values so that people understand it, right? In our world, ownership, results, partnership, simplicity are core values because it's vital to us. And we let everybody know that when they come in so that they understand, we take ownership of everything we do, but we also expect you to 100% own everything you do and say. So we have clear commitment and communication. If you can't do that, you want us to do everything for you, then great. We're probably not going to be able to work together because I can't work with somebody who won't take ownership of their part of the relationship. And I don't judge it. It just isn't fit for us. Right. But the other part is making sure that you are always selling the experience and selling the outcome. Don't sell your product. Your product doesn't matter and your product can change. If you say my merchant service provider, my machine, my bank, or whatever is the best. Well, that's wonderful. But what happens if you find a better one and you want to switch it? Now you have to convince people why you left the best to go to this other thing versus coming and saying, when you work with Jared, your financial needs are taken care of. And now your bank is an extension of you instead of you being an extension of the bank.
You just said something really important. And I want to touch on this and I want to make sure that the audience heard you say this clearly is your product doesn't matter. Please elaborate on that.
It's as simple as I can make it. Your product doesn't matter. The only person the product matters to the most is the person who created it. We all tend to get very emotionally connected, romantically involved with our product because it's our baby. We spent hours, days, years in the basement cultivating this thing. So we think it's amazing. And it is only because of the solution it provides or the experience it delivers. That's the only thing your customer cares about. They do not care about how many horsepowers in the drill or how big of a hole. They just want to know what they can do with the hole when they have it. Right? They go to this Home Depot to buy a drill. They don't care about the name brand. They care, they might be married to it, but that's because the brand did its job. When you come in, you don't just say, sure, which drill do you want? You say, why do you want a hole? Is this one hole? You're just going to do one hole forever? Or are you just going to have something? You're going to have many holes. And does this hole need to hold something? Does this hole need to provide something? Do you need to be able to see through it? Do you need to be able to hang something on it? Are you going to cover it up when it's done? Right? You need to know why they want the hole, not what they want with the damn drill.
Got you. And when you know what they want with the whole, you know how to provide the service or product that's going to be right for them. So you're actually solving the real problem.
Correct. And then you're delivering the outcome or the experience.
So while we're on outcome and experience, there's something that I want to touch on because you used apples to apples in terms of comparison. And I want to touch on apples to apples versus apples to orange marketing. But before we go into that, talk to me about the difference between best in class and class of one.
So we tend, our model is we work with world-class businesses or those who want to be. And our mission is to move them to best in class. The ultimate mountaintop experience in our world is to get you to be a class of one. When you're world-class, that means you're doing things at a great level. And that already separates you, but there's still a lot of people who are doing that. Mm-hmm. To become best in class is good, but it still says you're better than the people that are like you. When you're a class of one, the biggest advantage is that you are not comparable to somebody else. Because as a class of one, like us as a sales consultancy, we are delivering and growing sellable businesses that are de-commoditized class of one. Therefore, the way we position it, how we design it, and what we do is not comparable apples to apples because nobody is going to put a similar bid on the table compared to what we do. It's going to be so different that you can't compare it. You're just going to have to decide, is this the experience you want? Is this the outcome you desire? Do you believe we can give it to you? But you're not going to be able to stack it up against somebody else's chart and go, hey, price. Yeah, this guy's cheaper. That ain't going to work.
Right. I've started to make shifts in our business and our marketing. And I use these real-time examples because, first of all, I learned so much. So this is awesome. This is an education for me just by doing the podcast alone. But I've shifted because of the comparison aspect. It's how does your payment processing business compare to others, where I really don't even focus on that anymore. And I won't go into it because it's not a sales pitch. I'm providing a solution and value. And if you see that solution and that value works for you and you like who we are, you're going to work with us. But in terms of comparison, I've gotten away from this is BoxFi compared to Stripe or Square or Helsum. I've now gotten into what our products and services do to save you money. And if I can tell you, if I can increase your profits 15% overnight, would you like to learn more about what we do? And you say yes. I compare that 15% not to what other service providers are doing, but I compare it to what would you have to do in your business to increase your profitability that much? How much time is it going to take? How much money is it going to take? How long is it going to take for that profit to increase? We have programs that can do it overnight. If you invest in marketing and advertising, that could take 6 months. It's also an investment of time and considerable amount of money in hopes that your margins start to shrink as your revenue grows, as those new customers come in. So it changes the conversation. And to your point, it helps de-commoditize me within the industry when I'm giving them real-time comparisons there, and they start looking at it a very different way in a different package from others in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes it's as simple as stating the obvious that most people don't state. Like we customize our recruiting process for every salesperson that we recruit for you. Well, so does everybody else, but they don't say it. So you claim it and you own it. It's overstating the obvious and the simple. Then it's also stating the things that nobody else does but you, right? I grew up in an abusive environment, spent time in foster care, on the streets in gangs, in jail by 19. First 25 years of my life was a violent, frenzy, crazy whirlwind. But I learned everything I knew, almost everything I needed to know about entrepreneurship and sales in that first 25 years. I learned how to read the room because I had to go into every room I was in to figure out who's friend, who's foe, who's an ally, who's adversary. How do I bend their will to my direction so that they find me useful and an asset? And that way I could stay safe. I didn't know that 25 years later, I'd make millions of dollars teaching other people how to do the same. Read the room, bend people's influence in your direction, right? And then set up a structure and a strategy to make that happen, right? So that's part of uniqueness built into all of our sales processes, which makes us uniquely qualified. People say, what's your niche? What's your niche? I don't have one because I could step into anybody's niche, anybody's business. And once I know your core story, we can unpack all of our systems and strategies to customize the growth and the insights that you can to put in place to serve your clients uniquely, right? So we've decoded it and systematized it. So it makes it unique. Is it something that other people do? Sure. But nobody talks about it that way. So you have to be able to use your own personal insights, your own personal history, the things you know and the things you do that also accentuate your brand.
So first of all, thank you for sharing that story because that's an intimate personal story and not everyone's willing to do that. And I thank you for that because it really gives the audience insight. And if we step back from, we have questions, we're having a conversation, and take it to a different realm for a second. And it's understanding people. And what you said by sharing that story is you have an intimate understanding of the human and psychology. How do you take that and equate that into your business to make sure that you are focused on what your customers really need, because it's not about you. It's not starting off like, this is the history of our business and we've been in business for 50 years and we've done this and this and this. When your customers at the end of the day, they want to know that you're going to be able to solve their problem. So how do you take that human experience? Because we have it with our family, we have it with our friends, but a lot of people approach it and think it's so separate. How do you combine the two and just building a better, more profitable business?
Well, you have to understand what all of these gifts that you've had in your life, like the rough childhood that I had, that was God just setting me up for an amazing future, right? There were learning experiences and things that I never would have gotten had I taken a different path. So your job is to figure out what all of those gifts are, everything you've ever encountered, everything you've been challenged with or blessed with, and how have you turned those into a win, right? Your wounds become your wisdom, your mess becomes your message, all of that. It is your job to then take it and then insert that into the process that says, I'm unique because our brand was built on the fact that I had 18 kids fighting for dinner scraps. And so I know how to get to the core of what matters, right? If that was your story, right? Mm-hmm. Or somebody who worked on the farm and worked from the sun up to sundown while they still had to go to school and get an education and take care of their sick mother. Stuff. And so you will understand the art of multitasking and setting priorities in ways that nobody else had to because your life and death depended on it, right? So you can tell your own personal story inside of the business, not to make it about you, because then again, we're trying to make sellable companies. If it's about you, that company's not sellable, but it has to be how the brand started and built upon it.
So let's dive into that, because there are two schools of thought, and it's actually something that, and if I backtrack and I made a statement that it's not about you, it's about the customer. Mm-hmm. But then you also want to build the rapport with the customer throughout the journey so they understand your story and they relate to you, because it's one of the best ways to sell in business. How do you balance the two? Because again, I don't completely get rid of my story. I'm in payment processing because I had a business fail miserably. I lost 7 figures and I had to fire a lot of people, and it really freaking sucked. But through that, I realized my lack of resources at the time, or maybe resourcefulness at the time around the finances of running a small business, is what crushed the business. So I like being solution oriented. We provide payment processing service, but to your point, people call me for so many other things that add value to their business because they know my story and they know that I have a lot of resources. When do you introduce that story in the messaging to your customer so it is about them, but then they understand who you are?
I believe that you insert it from the beginning. 90% of the companies who come to us are not going to exit, but everybody we work with understands that's the journey we're on. We are here to get you self-sufficient. It's not about exiting companies, because at the end of the day, I'll be honest, I don't lose sleep every night wondering if you're making sales. I do lose sleep every night wondering if you are handcuffed to your business, if you don't have freedom, if you haven't been able to get to your kids' soccer games in a year, if you are fighting like hell, you're growing your business, but all it's doing is minimizing your bandwidth and ruining your joy. Those are the things that matter to me, because you're never going to be the greatest problem solver, leader, innovator, world changer that you can be until you are standing at freedom. Freedom is when you have a business that's sellable, because it's most profitable, most pleasurable, most simple to run. That's when I know you're doing this because you love it, because you now have a choice to leave it. And that's how this world gets better. And Jared, I've got 5 grandkids and the 6th one on the way. I used to be interested in you having a wildly successful business and changing the world. Now I'm committed to it, not just interested, because we need to leave a legacy for my grandkids and their grandkids, right? Mm. That's what this is about for me. So if you want to make a bunch of money, hey, let's take a ride. But if you want freedom, I'm your guy.
So talk me through one of the most challenging situations you've dealt with for a client that has come to you who was not at that point where they had freedom in their business, and what you did to turn around their business so they realized the desire and the freedom that they wanted?
There's so many that are similar. We have somebody recently who came to us who's $5 million company trying to get to 15, and wildly intelligent and working their butt off, but literally all the plates were spinning and everything was full. There was no room on the plate for anything else. And we had to take all of the energy that she was putting into this business and channel her on being the visionary and the expert and applying her wisdom while we were building systems, strategy, structure, and process underneath her without trying to slow her down, because you can't park them. They're climbing a mountain. And it's being able to help them understand that they can let go, that they can trust, that it's not just something they can do, it's something they must do. In order for them to get to that mountaintop, they're going to have to trust that somebody else can think as fast as they can, that can move as fast as they can, and that can fill in all the gaps. Because sometimes it's not even about that why we know more than them, it's that we can put all the focus on the things they don't have time to focus on. Right? And you have to show them that you know where they're going because you've helped others get there before. Mm-hmm. And you know what are the pitfalls and the potholes in the roads, and you've already got solutions for them or partners who do, so that the next 36 months is going to be a planned journey, and we already know what's going to happen, and you're going to win.
So let's say we've got that business owner who is constantly working in the business on a daily basis. They're successful in terms of their revenue. They're doing $5 million, $10 million a year. What are some of the key systems they need to put into place to move from being the operator of the business to the visionary of the business? And beyond just the systems, what should their mindset be?
Well, they need to have clear, repeatable, predictable revenue generation systems, right? There needs to be something that somebody else could step into and operate besides you. Because if the business is running on founder magic, it's in trouble, because that means it's directly tied to you. You need to have back-end systems that will continue to guide people and sell people into other solutions that will make their journey easier, faster, and more enjoyable. Right? And ultimately, more profitable, whatever that means. If you're in the health space, giving them the health and the freedom and the things that they need. But you need to make sure that there are things in place that are going to allow people to replicate you. If what you do isn't replicatable, correction, if you haven't figured out what you do that isn't replicatable, then that needs to be addressed right away. Because guess what? We're all replicatable if given the right system, right structure, enough time. So you have to find those pieces. And once we do, you find the little piece of you that's the most magic. And that's the part that can't be replicated. That should be ultimately the only thing you're doing.
So give me an example of a business that you've worked with, and whether it's a product or service business, how you help them design a system that was repeatable, scalable, and profitable.
We work with a lot of service-based companies, so people that are selling a future, more intangibles. And usually it comes in the form of consulting, coaching, client calls, et cetera, meetings, and your brain power. And so taking expert businesses that come in and decoding all of the things that they do repeatedly and being able to put them into systems and pushing upstream. We call it Dr. Ozing, because Dr. Oz, for those who don't know, I learned this in recent years, but he was a world-class or some sort of cardiovascular surgeon that only 200 people in the world did what he did.
Oh, wow.
And a 16-hour procedure where he would fly in on a helicopter for 20 minutes in the middle of this 16 hours, do the magic piece that only he could do, and then he flies out, and then this team who had to open him up would then put him back together. And he made more money than everybody in the whole place because he was a rare commodity, right? So in your business, and you as a business owner, you have that as well. So if you're touching too many things, it's because you haven't figured out the things that you shouldn't be touching, so that you can lean on the things that you should only be touching, and then delivering SOPs, rules, processes, procedures, so that it makes it really easy for other people to be able to execute on all of those things, whether it's operationally, financially, sales, team development, whatever it is, that's all duplicatable. We just have to be able to pull you apart from it and get you to the place where you can believe that other people can do what you can do and probably better. And even if they can't, usually 80%, if somebody could do 80% of you consistently every day, all the time, is that going to be better than what you're doing now because you haven't even had the time to do it?
So if you want to build a business that is profitable, you have to dissect what you do as the operator and create a system around that where someone else can replace you. There might be 1, 2, 3 things that are unique to you and your ability, but for the rest of what is happening in your business on a daily basis, you have to create a system, write it down, map it out, work with your team to figure out who can take on those tasks so you as the business owner can start to become the visionary, work on building the business, and not be stuck in operational lag on a daily basis that really draws you down and takes you away from growing an extremely profitable and successful business.
Amen.
So let's talk about one of the the commonality that you see in business owners that come to you. What is the biggest common trait or issue that is challenging their growth? It's in the way of them being the best that they can be.
The top two, they all fall under these two umbrellas. Either new level, new devil is a real thing. Every time you get to a new level, you literally have never been there before. Therefore, you don't know what to expect. And so the better you can be at making quality educated guesses is going to help. Most people are assuming they already know and they run into problems. The other end of the spectrum is people who let their history determine their future. And in the past, here's how I've done it. The problem is in the past, you weren't at the level you're at now. So how you did it didn't matter. It only matters that you did it because you have the confidence of knowing that your process, your ability to move forward and trust the decisions can produce for you. But you cannot look back and say, well, because this was the limit of what I created and the last time I did this, I can't expand beyond that. And that's just simply not true. Times have changed. Technology's changed. The world before COVID almost has nothing to do with the world after COVID. There's so many variables and there's so much at your fingertips. There's also a lot of distractions. So you have to be, that's why it's vital and clear to know where you're going. What are the gaps in you getting there? What are the problems you're going to have to overcome to make it happen? Then and only then do you look for solutions. You don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, gee, what can I do with AI today? Because that'll get you in a rabbit hole that you may not ever get out of.
Mm-hmm. You know, I listened to a YouTube short of a young gentleman who I actually respect and I think is very good in what he does. But he talked about he doesn't believe in imposter syndrome. You just have to go out there and do it, and then you don't suffer from imposter syndrome. Yep. The reality is if you haven't done it and don't know how to, some people do have a challenge with getting over that hurdle and getting to that next level, and that's okay. You do have to take a shot and try it and learn from the process. But don't be afraid, to your point on, well, I've done it this way for the last decade and it's worked. Well, if you're at a new place in your business and you have to explore new things, embrace it and be okay with being uncomfortable because it's the only way in which you can grow. And if you are someone who prides yourself on being successful and hardworking, you might suffer from a little bit of imposter syndrome, but that is temporary. It's something you get past once you learn that skill set. So to your point, Jim, it's brilliant. You have to just push through, but also have people around you like you who can help you grow and get past to that next level.
Well, and also understand that the quality of your feedback is directly related to the speed of your feedback. You know, so as an example, if you're going to test something, well, you can test something by throwing $5 a day at an ad and see what happens. or you can throw $500 a day or, $5,000 a day and get amazing amounts of feedback right away. Or you could take $5 a day over the course of a month or two and slowly build up feedback. You can take a chance on something and pull a lever. You still want to be smart. You don't take silly, stupid risks, but educated, calculated risks. I'm assuming everybody listening here is on that train. But you want to make sure that you get as much feedback as fast as you can. Because I will say that my wife and I, the biggest reason for our success, aside from our ability to attract amazing humans into our world, team, clients, and alike, is our ability. We have a massive bias towards action. When we see something, we run. And then the moment it breaks, we have feedback. And then we take the wisdom gained from that feedback and apply it immediately, and then do it again and do it again. And we have failed at more things in a year than most people will ever even attempt. And that's probably our biggest secret to success.
I could not agree more. Fail quickly, learn the lesson quickly. Don't repeat the same lesson.
Right.
And that's how you learn and grow your business. Before we get to the rapid fire section, I want you to talk to us about the domino effect.
Got it. Yeah. This is here on my desk. It has been for about 6 years. There's a video. I'll actually share the video with you. You can put it in the show notes.
Awesome.
There's a professor. He's this goofy little guy. I've corresponded with him a little bit, but he does this exercise where he takes a 5 millimeter, 1 ounce domino that he can only stand up with tweezers because it's so small. And then there are 13 dominoes in succession. The 13th domino is 100 pounds and 4 feet tall. Have it gone further, it would be 5 more would have been the size of the Empire State Building and weigh thousands of pounds. But no matter what, the only effort required to knock over that 100-pound 4-foot domino was whatever it takes to knock over the lead domino. Because if you would do this effectively, you find out what's the outcome you need. And then you need to know, what do I need to solve before that? What needs to be solved right before that? What needs to be solved right before that? And you line them up so that in succession, your effort is in a well-placed, well-pushed lead domino, and it does the rest. Now, in that example, from the 1 domino to the 13th domino would have been 2 billion times amplification. So 2 billion times output for 1 unit of input. I can't promise you that. But what I can promise you is this is going to be a heck of a lot easier for you to get at least 1 unit out for every 1 unit in, which is most people's immediate goal. What you should be looking for is, how do I put in 1 unit and get out 10, 20, or 100 or 1,000? And that just takes simplified thought, not crazy strategies. Most of you are doing this instead of lining up the right dominoes because it's too much work. You are running to that end domino and putting all of your effort into knocking over a 100-pound domino, which is going to be a lot harder than just knocking this one over. So that's the concept.
Thank you for explaining that. And that's a great example. Getting to that first domino is key. And for some business owners, it might be defining who your client actually is.
Yes.
And I will caution business owners, a lot of people are actually targeting the right client. You might think after 5, 7, 10 years, you've got the right avatar, but it could be completely wrong. So you really need to sit down and look at who you are servicing. And then once you know exactly who you're servicing, that's how you start to see your business multiply. For me, the majority of my business comes from referral and really good referral sources. And then once we have that referral source, we have warm and hot leads. And then from there, we just keep getting referral after referral after referral, and the business is growing and growing and growing. So I pivoted from going direct to the customer to going to that B2B referral source. And it's unprecedented, the growth that I'm seeing. And it wasn't instinctual for me. And I realized that my client was actually a middleman. My client wasn't the end user.
Yes. That's so beautiful. That is 100% my philosophy. I spend, if you look at my calendar, there is 0 outreach prospecting time for customers. I spend all of my time prospecting for partners.
Yes.
Because if you knock on 10 doors, you might get a client and they might be a great client. Then you have to go knock on the next 10 doors to hope to find another client. I knock on the same 10 doors and I'm looking for a partner. When I find a partner, it opens up the door to hundreds or thousands of clients. And then I go find another partner who also opens up the door to hundreds or thousands of clients. So I'm continuing to compound effect my prospecting in ways that most people are just never going to do. And it changes the game for everything. So I literally, everybody I meet, I'm like, how can I make you a hero to your audience? How can I help you serve your people?
Jim, you're absolutely amazing. Gave so much information. We're going to do our fun little rapid fire question. So you're going to give me quick answers. I know you don't know these questions, so let's dive in.
Okay.
Rabbit or turtle?
Rabbit.
If there is a zombie apocalypse and you have to leave your home and protect your family, what is the one weapon that you're going to take with you?
My 9mm.
Nice. What is your favorite business phrase or quote?
Mine, it's our staple. It's not what you're saying or who you're being. It's not what you're saying. It's who you're being while you're saying it.
It's not what you're saying. It's who you're being when you're saying it. That's awesome. Okay. So how are you implementing AI into your business?
Well, two awesome things. We have a voice assistant, automated assistant that is setting appointments and qualifying calls for us, which we're super pumped about. Massive leverage and opportunity and quality touch. And I'll leave the number for you in the show notes. Please call and see how it works for you and get on my calendar. Also, what we've just launched is our Edge sales call audit process. And so it's taking our hundreds of thousands of sales conversations, $500 million worth of sales made, and our thousands of sales call audits, taking all of our frameworks that we have used for that, put it into the knowledge base inside of AI. And then now AI is doing our call audits so we can do them at scale, at volume with quality, and then deliver to you a training plan and a sales process. That's the lead domino. You want to know what's going on in your sales process? Lead domino, get a call audit. From there, we can diagnose everything that's going on, map out a clear plan to your success.
Awesome. What is I'm sure you have many, but what is one of your top business books that entrepreneurs must read?
Gosh, yeah, I read a book a week. 10X is easier than 2X is one that we're studying with all of our clients this year. And that's definitely a big one because it's true statement. Most people we meet who have generated $10 million, the only reason they didn't generate 50 is because they didn't plan for it. That's a tough thing to live with when you get there.
If you are a small business owner and you're doing 10 million in annual revenue, and I walk through your front door and I hand you a $300,000 check, what are you going to advise that business owner to do with that 300,000 to double their profits in the next year?
I would go all in on optimizing your partner network. Okay. Turn that into resources, strategy, and systems that lead all the ideal partners to bring their people to you like the Pied Piper.
Brilliant. And last but not least, what is the one thing that you had to overcome in your business to turn it into the success that it is today?
Well, two things I'll put there on equal status. One, I had to recognize that the more I know, the less that I actually know. And the power of prayer. You got to bring God into your business. You're working twice as hard or 10 times harder than you ever have to without God in your business.
Beautiful, beautiful. Jim Padilla, that was incredible. So many good takeaways, so many excellent shorts we're going to have for social media with these little tidbits of advice. Tell the audience how and where they can connect with you.
I'm going to give you my cell phone number. Shoot me a text. Ask me about Jenny, who's our automated assistant. If you're interested, then I'll shoot you our number. If you want to find out about a call on it or just put my brain on your business, I love to know what everybody is doing so I can be in the know on all the new strategies that are going on. So 916-587-1000. 1946. That is my cell phone number. My team doesn't answer that. I do. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from Jim Padilla. Thank you so much for joining us on 0 to 100.
Thanks for tuning in to 0 to 100 podcast. We hope you feel inspired and ready to accelerate your business. Remember, your journey to success starts with a single step. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for greatness. For more resources and show notes, visit jaredguyrandolph.com. We'll see you next time.